This week at the National Portrait Gallery, we brought together 22 young people to be inspired by the exhibit, learn about portraiture, and ultimately create their own self-portrait, how they see themselves, how they'd want to be remembered and portrayed in an image.
I think a lot of people learn differently in this environment because they had more resources to use. Also, another unique thing was that you feel more important because you're in a museum environment and it's like a top museum in the US, and you feel like you can learn better because you're in that type of environment.
The first thing that we did when the students entered the workshop was we got them all on the social network. And the beauty of the social network is that it allowed us to share everything that we'd be doing for the next 4 days. Starting day one, the first exercise they had to do was think about someone that they admire and why. And they would write that down in a blog. They'd take some time. And then their job was to take the mobile device with a partner and shoot that person in the quality that they admired. And they'd upload it to the site, and then we'd review it.
They went in the galleries, they captured images that resonated with them, and then we talked about why. And a lot of it had to do with, oh, that person seemed really happy and that made me happy. But then in the afternoon, we actually went into the gallery and we talked about the different types of portraits that they would find. So a symbolic portrait. The Lansdowne George Washington portrait is a classic example. There are symbols that tell not only George Washington's story, but the nation's story. And I think that the kids picked up on that, and several of them, for their portraits, brought in pieces. Somebody brought in a photo of their family, and their portrait, they are holding the photo of their family because that's what, again, resonated with them. So we really focused them on the elements of portrayal, and they then went out and talked to each other and used the smartphones to capture those poses in their sample photo.
Is this a portrait?
Yeah.
No, that's a sitter.
Yeah.
That is a sitter. The brick is the sitter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's the person's ashes molded into a brick, so it might be a portrait.
Oh, okay. It very well could be. What other ideas do you have?
Day two was an opportunity to now turn the tables to themselves and start to look at themselves and how people see them.
Most of the time we were just taking pictures and talking about ourselves because obviously it's a self-portrait, so you have to get to know a little bit more about yourself so you can know how you want to be portrayed.
The beginning of day three, pre-production was over and it was time to go into full production. We had a professional photographer, and by group the students would go to their chosen location and really art direct the photographer of exactly how they see their photograph. Day three ended with all the students selecting their favorite photograph.
Because when you look at it, you can't help but smile.
Yeah.
I mean, look at you, you're cheesing.
Yeah, I was like that. That's my personality.
Good job, sweetie, good job. It's beautiful. It was magical for them to see that this process that began as somewhat of a tedious, introspective blog about who am I and how do people see me has now, transitioned into like an 11 by 14 photograph of themselves, art directed by themselves, that they are proud to show. And so they framed the photos, they shared with the group their photo, because no one had really seen such an individual process taking a photograph. And then we went out into the courtyard of the National Portrait Gallery and we had an exhibition. They stood by the photograph and they shared the photograph with the general public and also with their peers.
I think many of them picked up on the elements of portrayal. They were very aware and cognizant of what they were going to be wearing, where in the museum they were going to be photographed and what that meant. So I think that they were very thoughtful responses and were certainly reflective of the entire week.